Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Shaq here, and welcome back to Space Engineers. I know we're at the menu right now, but that's because I want to load up the new map that they've added, and we're going to talk about all the new stuff they've added today. Because today is the first update since they started doing the run-on DLC that has gotten me a bit more pumped and excited for Space Engineers, because it's the first update that we've had that has changed gameplay in a way that is an actual change. It's not just DLC content. It's not new blocks and reskins of blocks that we already had. This is an actual change to gameplay that's more substantial than just weather, which was fine. This is combat. This is the Warfare 2 Broadside update, which dropped this morning. So let's go ahead and load into the new map that they've got. It's basically the trailer map. So we go to custom game. Scroll down to the asteroid armory. I'm going to put it in creative so we can play around with some of the new blocks and talk about what's come up. And let's just dive right in. So the Broadside 2 update adds target locking, something that we've been asking for since they introduced rockets to the game oh so many years ago. I know I have, on and on and on again. Let's go ahead and turn on the creative mode, and we're going to just boop right out the wall. You can see the asteroid base here. I don't know why. I do know why blue ships always have that spindly little neck bit. It's because in the earliest trailer for this, they wanted to show off the destruction mechanics, right? That was something that Space Engineers had that no other crafting game had. And doing that by snapping the neck of the blue ship in half with the red ship was obviously a way to show it off. And that continues in the design philosophy of the blue ship in all of these like combat scenarios, which I kind of love. I love that that's a thing they just keep doing. Anywho, let's go ahead and teleport over here, control spacebar, get our character over. We'll switch over F6 to take back control of them. And let's talk about the locking mechanics. So we've got a target over there, the red frigate, 13.7 kilometers away. I'm going to jump into this, actually, we'll take the fighter. We'll take the fighter out, and I will show you the base mechanics of, I like this base a lot. This is actually quite nice. Of the lock mechanic. Here's the new blue fighter, looking pretty good with the new weapon systems. Now, I'm not going to go through every new weapon that's been added because honestly, I don't really care. We've been using modded weapons for ages. They're cool. They got artillery cannons. They got anti-fighter weapons. They've got resend rocket launchers, which are these guys right here. But what they don't have, actually, wait a minute. Let me pop in over here. If I take that out, do they disappear? Those tubes? Let's see. If I take these out, no, they don't go away. They're still there. Lame. I was kind of hoping that you would give a visual. That would be a neat change of pace if this actually changed what's shown, that you know that it's loaded or not. Because we've seen that with modded weapons. But anyways, let's dive back in here. There is some cool stuff about this. You're gonna notice as we take off. You're gonna notice if you do any modded gameplay of Space Engineers, if you've used Weapon Core, there's gonna be some similar features to Weapon Core in here. All right, we're gonna cruise. One of them is the target lock mechanic and then the lead indicator. Target lock mechanic requires you to be within, and we're 13 kilometers away. You have to be in 2 kilometers to get a lock. So as we cruise toward this, and this is an active target, they do have some turrets on there, we'll be able to lock, but we'll only be able to lock at 2 kilometers. Now, one of the things that they've added with the system is the larger the target is, the faster you'll lock it, and the farther away it is, the slower you'll lock it. So if a target is very small and far away, it'll take you a little bit longer to lock. To lock it, you right-click, and you can hear me tink, 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 tink. Nothing's happening. Once we get closer, you'll actually hear the sound effect will change. But you right-click, or you left trigger on an Xbox controller, and you'll start doing a scan, and you'll hear the sound effect of it trying to lock, trying to scan. Once we get within 2 kilometers, we should be well out of the range of the turrets on there. This ship is loaded down, the one that we're heading towards. Do I have a camera on this? It doesn't seem like I do. The ship that we're heading towards does have, and I'll switch over to Spectator Cam, the new railgun and a few of the new, I think it's got a few of the artillery cannons on it. I know the blue ship has like 4 of them. But here's the new railgun. Right there. It's limited range. It makes it kind of hilarious to use. Wonderful sound effect. It looks really cool, but yeah, because everything is limited to a 2 kilometer range, that is super close range for space combat. And if you're coming from Weapon Core, it's gonna seem really, really nerfed. Though I expect the mods to very much start customizing and changing this. Also, expect to still get cockpitted in like one shot, especially with some of these newer weapons. They will knock you out of the cockpit, the turreted weapons, in 1 or 2 rounds. Definitely have noticed that in the testing. The new weapon systems do sound great, though. Here's these. Ah, that is chunky. That sounds really good. All right, so we're coming into 2 kilometers. Let's slow down so we can get our target lock. Did-em, did-em, did-em. Start slowing down. And we're in 2. You can hear the sound effect. I've actually already locked it, weirdly enough. Let's not get too close. Now, one of the things that they've added, there's our target lock. Okay. I like that there's a sound, like I am scanning, even though we've already got a target lock. If we hit K, we go into the fighter cockpit. What they've added in here, and I like this a lot, is there is a feature now to trigger set actions to trigger if you get locked. So as an enemy fighter, an enemy battleship or whatever locks you, your ship can know you've been locked, and you can set a trigger to respond to that, which is really cool. So you could have a alarm go off. You know, you can put a sound block in there and have an alarm go off. You can have countermeasures automatically prepare in launch if you wanted to set that up with timer blocks. There's some really cool stuff you can do with it. Another thing that they've added, if we look at the top center screen, actually let's do, we'll do top center screen, and we'll do the, not artificial horizon. We're going to ditch that for the new system, which is going to be our targeting info system. Here we go. Another thing that they've added. So if you're used to Weapon Core, normally you'd get a UI element at the top, and it would give you the size of the target, the threat level based on what kind of weapons it's got on it, and its motion to you. And that's kind of what you get here. It's a simplified version of it, which I think is appropriate for Space Engineers as a vanilla update. Remember, all of this, all of the gameplay features that are being added are part of a free update side of Warfare, and then there's a DLC side, which is mostly just some new blocks to play around with. And I'll talk about those probably in another video. We'll go deep into the different blocks. But here you go. You can see our distance to target, 1,624 meters. So we've got a very specific instead of 1.62 kilometers. Though we already have that when we get a lock, so that's kind of useless. We have RV, which is our relative velocity. So if I start moving around, we'll see the relative velocity between us. So if I go forward, it goes up. If I go backwards, it should go into the negatives. There we go. Actually, that's our average velocity. Our approach velocity is AV. Our relative velocity, I don't really understand exactly what that's supposed to be. I guess it's relative to, like, if we're chasing each other or something. Because we've got our average or approach velocity, so negative, it's gaining distance between us. And now we're going forward, and that should go down and start becoming a positive number. And then those numbers are staying the same. It changes as we start to slide. And then the last one is mass of target, which doesn't quite fit on the screen. The kilograms is disappearing, but that's the mass of it. So you can get an idea of how large it is. I would kind of appreciate if it converted that mass into something. I liked that Weapon Core did that. It would give me like small target, medium target, large target, because there is kind of a default range of ship sizes in Space Engineers. And then maybe super large or something for something ridiculously big that some people have built. We've seen in the tournaments. All right, so best feature. I think best feature beyond the ability to trigger stuff and the new turret control system is, and this is going to make combat so much more fun, I'm going to start accelerating. We're probably going to die here because turrets are still super accurate. Wait for it. Switching weapon system, and this will actually change based on the weapon that I choose. Right now, I've got the autocannon selected. These are all vanilla weapons, by the way. Once we get into firing range, watch the targeting indicator. Look at how far out I'd have to shoot to hit that target. And now if I switch to the rockets, as we change direction, I have a targeting indicator. I don't have to mod the game to be able to actually hit something. How great is that? Actually, let's see how accurate they are. So if I'm coming straight at them, there's my rockets away. Rockets away. They're gonna be, straight to the face. Was there a hit? This isn't the most maneuverable of fighters. And it is, yep, there it goes. Remember what I said about be ready to still get cockpitted out? Yeah, it's still vanilla light armor. It's still vanilla weapon damage. Like, they still do ridiculous amounts of damage. So, unless you are incredibly fast and can outrun the tracking on these, and that ship is obviously not, you're gonna get smacked around. I expect we see some rebalance mods coming out pretty quickly. Or maybe even, the ones that I already use probably still function. Oh, I'm gonna get nailed. Let's see. I am about as fast and as maneuverable as you can get as a single target. Oh, I love the sounds too. Listen. just changed direction, so it managed to miss. The red ship doesn't have much in the way of ammunition, so it will run out in a second. After a few rounds. In this test map. Weirdly, there isn't very much ammo in any of the ships on this test map. You get maybe a magazine or two, and that's it. But yeah! We got tracking now. That means combat is something that we can actually have without having to mod it. Because it was almost impossible to hit stuff like with rockets. If anybody was moving, right? Unless they were a very large and slow target. And same with the like the Gatling cannons. Like you'd have to get right behind them to do it. Now we get a little bit of a tracking indicator. So let's go ahead and bounce back over to the base of operations. We'll go over to the blue Corvette. We'll take this sucker out. And let's play around. Actually, let's head over here. And let's play around with another one of the really cool features. Let's talk decoys first. We're still talking targeting. So decoys have changed. Pull the decoys out. Funny enough, Weapon Corps did this too. During the tournaments that Zoc was running, we got to play around with some of the new... Let's color that so we can see it a little bit easier on that white background. They changed how decoys work, and now we have an update, very cool, that changes how decoys work. Sort of. So decoys basically have a priority for their target. Let's throw it on here. Versus the subsystems that they're spoofing. So if I put this boop right there, this decoy is worth more to a turret to shoot at than, say, a thruster, right? Or a reactor. Now, the way that it works is the weapon systems can, you can still have the ability to target subsystems. You have the ability to target subsystems now. And the decoys act as a high-value version of those subsystems. So if you set a turret to fire at, like, thrusters, for instance, or weapon systems, which is an option that you can put in the auto-targeting in the turret's control panel, then you put this next to a thruster, and this thing is way more likely to get nailed than the thruster itself. That's how it works. Now, sadly, and I want to do some testing on this, I don't believe detachable decoys have any value, because now we have the ability to group turrets and give them priority targets. This is something we can do now. Having decoys just pop off are going to create new grids that you won't have targeted, if that makes sense, right? You've already prioritized the blue ship. If this decoy flies off the blue ship, say you put it on a merge block, because it's like, oh, we're being locked, pop flares, aka drop decoys off of their merge blocks and have them float around. Well, you're a grid and the decoy's a grid, and you've already prioritized one grid over the other. It's not going to switch targets. I bet there might be like a mod or something for that, but really what this does is you want these around your ship to get the turrets to focus on these instead of those other objects. Which is kind of fine, I guess. Weapons have kind of a spread anyways. Like you saw that autocannon was missing me, meaning it would be hitting all of the blocks around, say, a decoy if you were fighting somebody. And if the decoy is, as would be suggested by the devs, near those things you want to protect, chances are you're going to lose those things anyways. So decoys, still, I question their value, and I think further testing is required. But back to turrets, and back to the idea that you can prioritize targets on turrets. So let me bounce over here. This turret has new... Whoa, there's a gravity generator somewhere yep, it's inside the station. If we look at this turret's control panel, and we scroll down, we're going to find some new fun stuff. Of course, we still have the control button, so we can manually control a turret. But if you've played Space Engineers, and you've ever put turrets on your ship, you're going to know, and you've used it in combat, you're going to know the pain of, well, combat in SC. Turrets were basically uncontrollable. You could set them up as groups, and you could give them really basic options. You could have them target characters, target large ships, small ships, target neutrals on or off. Those were your options, and target enemies. And then the turret would do whatever it wanted. It would follow those simple guidelines, but say, for instance, let me give you a scenario. You're in a battle. You're about to fight. You're looking down the barrel of a large battleship. You've got your cruiser. You want to fire at the battleship that's about to gun you down. You turn your turrets on, and they all immediately target something dumb like a reactor with a toilet attached to it that, for whatever reason, it'd have to be powered. for whatever reason, was floating just a little bit closer, and there would happen to be a battery. Maybe it's wreckage from another fight. You know, some stupid block that was floating around. All those turrets might say, you know what? All right, we're online. We're going to target the nearest enemy grid, and instead of firing at the battleship that's coming down on you, they all fire at a piece of trash that's floating off your port side, and the battleship kicks the crap out of you because all of your weapons, not only are they firing at this, they're probably missing because the target is so small. And there's nothing you could do about it. There was no targeting system. Welcome to Space Engineers Combat. Now, you might be thinking, why would there be a toilet floating in space? Well, if you've been fighting for a little while, there's going to be lots of random components floating around because pieces are going to break off ships. And that would happen. Your ship would focus on the stupid piece of trash instead of the main target. So, thankfully, they finally added, with the targeting system, the ability to group turrets into whatever groups you want, which we already had, and then prioritize the target for those turrets based on your lock-on, aka copy target. Make turret lock to your next target. Oh, it's so goofy. And then you can subsystem target. This is what I was talking about: weapons, propulsion, and then power systems. Wow, they've really simplified that. I'm used to Weapon Core, where it's like a nice long list of like target their communications, target their whatever. That may have changed. I haven't checked it recently, but there you go. We can target, and so you put this in the group setting, right? So we do like let's see, where's our turrets? Okay, all turrets. Turrets. This is the group's gonna call Bang Bang. Turret Bang Bang. What I want you guys to do when I'm in a cockpit is, and I'm sleep. Where is the cockpit on this ship? Ooh, look at those hangar doors. Looking good. Looking good. I do like the blocks that they've been releasing. They look really good. I mean, turrets weren't functional before. They didn't work for their job. So the fact that we've got the ability to cycle targets, I don't know where the cockpit is on this. Well, for our testing purposes, let's put a cockpit on the roof. Let's put a cockpit. Let's see. Let's put a control seat. There's a turret control seat now too, which is really, really cool. We'll do a normal seat for right now. Get rid of these decoys. Boop. Slap you down. There we go. Pop into here. And where's that turret group that we had? Groups. Our silly turret bang bang group. Throw it in here. And then we can do copy target, which is the new command. Copy target. Ooh, and forget target. Let's grab that too. Forget target. And then as we'll pull off, run over and say, well, we'll target this. So right click, scanning, locking onto the base of operations. It's already locked. And then we can, what did we say? One was, and now we've made that the target. It's not hostile, so we're not gonna fire at it. But yeah, now we can actually do it. So, for instance, if I wanted to, they are going to shoot this. Let's grab a copy pasta of our toilet target and run outside of weapon range, but inside of targeting range. I would imagine weapon range is lower than 900 meters. Don't get me started on weapon ranges in Space Engineers. It's super goofy, but and we'll go ahead and switch you over to Space Pirates. You're now hostile. Wonderful. That is a hostile floating toilet. Prepare for combat. And while I'm floating over, just in case I need to, can use all terminals. That's the admin command menu. If you're ever testing stuff, you want to see how something works before you design a ship, I highly recommend getting into creative, use that or add that admin stuff, and do some experimentation with the systems before you start playing survival and start designing things around concepts. But all right, so we're gonna rotate very slowly. There's something out there. Let's right click and see if we can lock it. We locked it instantly. It's half our maximum range away, and it's only 3 blocks, and we locked it instantly. I truly wonder how effective this whole, if a block is smaller than you, this is what it says in the patch notes. If a block is very small and very far away, it takes a while to lock. But notice I just right clicked and we instantly locked it. Maybe I'm gonna back up a little bit more. We've locked that instantly. We've locked that. It just happens right away. Yeah, it just happens right away. So I question it. I question how, like, and it auto-locked that too. All right, so priority target. Target is out of range. It's telling me those turrets. There they go. Now, if we just kick the crap out of that. I'm sure this has got a camera on it. Oh, those are some beefy sounds. Listen to them. Goodbye, angry toilet. And good job, autocannons, managing to hit a target that far away. 1.4. Notice that they were still hitting that. They were still firing out to maybe 1.1, 1.2. That is way out of the normal turret range in Space Engineers. Well, if we go to these turrets, if you notice, their range is only 800 meters. Because we had a target lock, we were able to reach out even farther and hit that target. Though maximum range for all targeting is 2 kilometers right now, which is a bit silly when you've got... I have it in creative, that's why we still have ammunition. When you've got one of those strapped to the belly. Right, so let's switch to rail, though, because I don't think this even flies out that far. And then we'll just 4, 3, let's zoom in. Where's our target? There it is. That's gonna be out of range. Watch how far this round goes. Sounds great though, but boop. Also, why does it kind of look like the rocket? Is it just me, or does that really, really, really look like the rocket? Yeah, that went, what, 500 meters maybe? Another thing that I want to test is maximum range. Also, does it look as good as it did in the trailer? Oh, that's another thing that they're doing. You can see your weapon recharge. Up, 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 up. 45%, so that's going to take a second to recharge. Something that I'm very familiar with using the Mac cannon from the tournaments is seeing that recharge pop up. That's very weapon core. It's interesting that that's actually there instead of showing up on some kind of screen, because almost every other UI element that they've added with this update, all of them except for the target locking, is based on a script that shows up on an LCD. Remember, this had all that green smoke in the little GIF trailer, teaser trailer. I'm kind of curious if that's on there. I haven't actually looked. I fired it a bunch of times. There it goes. Oh, yeah. Wow, that looks good. I also like that you notice that it moved. There's a little bit of force impacted on the ship that's firing it. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. How far off are we going to fire? Or are you going to detonate? Notice the round detonate. Detonated when I shot it out there. I think it's maximum range. And it wouldn't show me maximum range on here, would it? No. We're waiting for it to fully charge. 36 seconds. Oh, it even shows current and stored power. Huh. Huh. So does that mean you could have multiples of these just charged and ready to go, and then when you fire them, it might take forever to reload? That's very interesting. Another thing that they've added, we're going to look at it in just a second, is the turret control. Building your own turrets and being able to control them from a new... Well, I guess what basically equates to a new cockpit. Yeah, it basically equates to a new cockpit. They've added a helm station too, which is quite cool. But that's under the DLC pack. Again, we'll go over all the blocks later. All right, here we go. So we are, I say 500 meters is max range. No, it's farther than 500 meters. All right, it's a little bit farther, but maybe it's just max 2K. Max 2K, that's the maximum targeting. But those guns look cool. That is the big highlight feature of the update. Everything else is weapons. Now, if you're interested in what you're actually getting out of it, so I'll put it up on the screen right now. Here's the image of what you're getting. In the update side, which is the free side on the left, you're getting the new models for ammunition. That's the warfare ammo. Because you have to have those for the new guns, right? All of the new guns are free updates. And they're holding to that concept that basically, if it's going to change gameplay and balance, it's going to just come into the game for free. And then if it's just optional stuff to give you more variety in what you can build out of, it's going into the DLC packs. I'm a little surprised. I actually thought they were going to charge for weapons in this one. And they didn't do it. It was a smart idea. So we're getting an offset passenger seat. Hey, it only took us like 8 years, but we got there. We're getting a series of weapons. The artillery cannon is the largest of the cannons. Then we go to the assault cannon, which is just like the medium grade. Then you go to your auto cannon. And then there's the turret variations of all of the above. So, the bigger the target, the harder the armor is, the bigger the weapon you're going to want to use against it, the smaller, the faster the target is, the smaller the weapon you're going to want to use against it because it'll turn faster and able to hit it. We also get the custom turret controller, which I will pull up in just a second. On the DLC side of things, so basically all of the update is weapons and the new weapon system, the new targeting system, and the defenses therein. On the DLC side, it's a reskinned reactor, which I think is very cool. It has a walking around area. We get a new battery, which looks very cool. But those, it's still like the same shape. They didn't really change much there. We get a new helm, which is a standing position. We get a sliding hatch door that reminds me of like a submarine, a couple of new emotes, a silly skin for a helmet. We've got the new Warfare Gatling gun and rocket launcher. They're just reskins of the traditional rocket launcher and Gatling cannon. We get a passenger bench, which I'm totally going to add thrusters to and fly it around. Chairforge 3.0 coming soon. And we got new reskinned hangar doors, which are just as silly as the original ones. I think the coolest thing out of all of that is the new thrusters, which are these Warfare ion thrusters. Funny enough, it almost feels like those should have been on the Warfare side, and they should have, like, buffed the health of them, because don't those look like they would have way more armor to them? And I think they're literally the same build stat, so they don't have any more health than any of these other objects. They're just a skin. A cool-looking skin, but a skin, because they even take the same size space. The coolest thing on all of this is probably the bridge windows. I think is the coolest thing. You can now make that proper, like, Star Destroyer-esque visual that I've been wanting, that none of the windows have ever really sold me on. These just feel a little bit beefier. I quite like them, and I hope we see more window skins like this in the future. But there you go, guys. The last thing I wanted to look at was that turret control seat. Let's actually get out of the seat we're in and pop that turret control seat out. So, custom turret controller. The custom turret controller is capable of providing AI behavior to custom-built rotor and hinged-based turrets. It can also be used to manually control the turret. A custom turret requires at least one rotor hinge and one weapon tool or camera. Oh, weapon tool. Yeah, that'll be fun to function. We've been making custom turrets for ages. Normally, it's using a script. Actually, back in the day, we just used to use a couple of gyros. It's been ages since I've made one of those, a gyro turret. You set a seat, you put a couple of gyros on it, you turn off their brake, and then you can move around as if they were a ship, but they're attached to your, to your vessel or your base or whatever. So let's just go ahead and turn off mirroring so we can take a look at this. Here is the new turret controller. Now it's built into the game. You don't have to worry about running some script off of the workshop to get it to work. And this is something that I'll have to, we'll have to play around with at a later date. What it looks like is we'd need to build a turret, assign it to this, and then it will operate it as if it was one of our normal standard turrets. This is really exciting because it makes me wonder, I don't know if it'd be worth it to put tools on there because it said it would work with tools. And I'm like, well, you want like a turreted mining tool? That could be kind of neat. Functional? I don't know, maybe. What else can we do with this other than making turrets with it? So I'll be playing around with this probably on this weekend when we do the Saturday stream. But all right, everybody, let me know what you think about the new update, where you think Space Engineers is going. I'm really excited. This opens up all kinds of build possibilities, particularly with that turret control seat. If you want to keep things more vanilla, and the new weapons and the lock-on. Lock-on means we can have combat. I'm going to get people together this weekend, and we're going to bash some ships together and see how it all works out. Just don't be surprised when you get one-shotted out of your cockpit because light armor is paper, and the weapon systems are still just as deadly as they always have been. So, all right, I will catch you all in the next one. Later, everybody.